The Bach cello suites were not spoken about during my childhood. They were kind of this, kind of like the Dead Sea Scrolls. People just kind of revered them behind the scenes, but people didn't really play them in public. I heard Rostropovich play one in public for an Armenian relief concert. It was suite number 5. But they were just kind of seen as something you worked on with your teacher. So my childhood was spent playing them as warm-up exercises along with my etudes. But I had to learn in high school a couple of them, and I learned the first, the third, and the sixth. They're all the major ones. But the sixth is a virtuoso piece for cello because it's originally written for a 5-string instrument. So for a 4-string instrument, it's rather treacherous. Everybody seemed afraid of it, of the Bach cello suites. Juilliard, same thing. In fact, my teacher, Joel Krasik, asked me frequently to bring in Bach, and I would play it for him, and he'd just say, "Put your cello down, let's talk about what's going on in your head," and like life stuff. After school, meaning after Juilliard, about 5 months after being out of school, I felt very alone in the world, and I was trying to find myself. And I just opened up the Bach cello suites and started at the very beginning. Started with the first cello suite, writing the most beautiful music, but he, being the genius that he was, wrote the Prelude number 1, the famous one that everyone plays. It's basically our theme song now, that he wrote a subliminal melody. So he wrote a piece that doesn't have a melody, that we hear a melody, and that's how he conquered not disturbing the melody. That's one of the reasons I think it's so popular, because it just kind of, it's a guide. The other thing about the Bach cello suites that was so strange and interesting to me, and I started realizing it after Juilliard, was that there's no correct way of playing them because we don't have the manuscripts. I kept searching, where's Bach's manuscript? And it was lost. But we do have his second wife, Anna Magdalena's sketchings of the 6 suites. A lot of his music was found in delis with meat wrapped in it because it was just extra paper. So interesting, going back to my childhood, I was about 200 years behind because I didn't know the story of Pablo Casals. I didn't realize that Pablo Casals, being born in the late 1800s, in about 1900, discovered these Bach cello suites in a music store and saw them for the musical Bible that they're seen now. He spent over a decade trying to prepare them, and for the first time of any artist ever, started playing them as complete suites, like as a whole, the whole suite with repeats, and no one had ever done that before until that time, the early 1900s. They were, again, just a movement here, a movement there, but never really in public and certainly not celebrated. In my 20s, when I'm trying to figure out myself, I figured out myself through the Bach cello suites, and I began taking them out on stage and playing them, and it gave me it became my guide. It put me as a person together psychologically, because I had to make, for the first time, not having a teacher, I had to make my own decisions. Well, the difficulty in playing them is that it's so exposing to everything that we hide behind as musicians. Meaning, we hide behind a composer's markings. And we as musicians, when we play what the composer wanted that's on the page, we let it go. With the Bach cello suites, there are no markings. So everything that is played is where we are. And you feel very fragile while doing that in public because you know that the judgment is very different. It's kind of like having public therapy when you play Bach in public. And it reflects where you are. And sometimes where you are is a very nervous, anxious, fearful, insecure musician. And to walk on stage and have that be when you play Bach is horrifying. So I used the Bach cello suites in my 20s and early 30s as a place to find confidence. They became, again, a guide for me, and I started understanding why they were seen as the cellistic musical Bible. For those of you who understand what the Bible is, and going back to Bach being a church organist and my mother being an organist in our church growing up, and me sitting there in church for 2 services a day, every Sunday for 18 years, and how the Bible can be interpreted differently in any given moment. And it just kind of is an inspiration of renewed thought. If you listen to the first recording, it's so confident. And I say that because of even just the way it was recorded. It's very forward. It's like I was shouting from the mountaintops. This is what I believe. I swear, this is what I believe. And there was kind of a youthful confidence to that I think it polarized people. They're like, this is an amazing recording, or this is really a lot. It's a lot of oomph. And it somehow grabbed into society, and it became #1 on the Billboard charts for about 6 weeks, and became kind of the launching pad, or what Philippa and I would call the Star Wars of my recordings. It was played everywhere. Once it starts to register, then it becomes something that people play all the time. So radio stations began playing movements here or there, and it really paid off. I mean, literally everywhere I went, people wanted me to play Bach as an encore. I'd have it at all my concerts, and it was guaranteed to sell no matter what I played at any concert. The Bach cello suites were the money card. And for the next few years after it came out, so it came out in 2010, I toured around playing the complete suites. I got very burnt out on them, let's just put it that way, to say the least. I'd recorded them to let them go for a while. I wanted to take a serious break, and I did after about 2012. Then the pandemic hit, and I found myself in a really strange place. And when the world stopped in March and I just put my cello down, I didn't play my cello for weeks. I just sat in my empty house, reveling in the fact that I started realizing what home meant. Whenever people always asked me, where do you live? I said, well, I have a house in El Paso, Texas. I didn't say that El Paso was my home because I didn't really know what home meant until April. I started realizing the importance of music, again, after I got the noise to stop in my life. And I sat down with my cello, and I put the music stand in front of me, and I began playing Bach. not worrying about my interpretation. I just played it. And it brought me to a very simple place, as life did during the pandemic. It was very purifying. I didn't overthink it. I wasn't worried about what other people thought because I was playing for me. And so through the summer months, I began realizing that the less I do with the music, the better it sounded. It sounds to me, even listening, I've got them right here, like a very gentle, honest, pure approach. Polar opposite to what I did 10 years ago, 13 years ago. Polar opposite. And I began playing it very differently. I hear the music. I don't hear cello playing. And I realized that that also gives me goosebumps because Bach's music is not, it's Bach, it's not cello, it's not organ. It's the only composer that can be played on any instrument and sound right. And what I love about this recording is, again, I don't hear me, I hear Bach.
Oh my God, that sounds so good close up and in person. Yeah. It's a little bit different than the speakers.
You should sit out here and listen today.
I would like to. I've got to run that other recorder though.
Oh.
What a stunning sound. What a stunning sound.
It's an amazing sound.
Oh my God.
Cello. I mean, wow. It's got extra air in it. It has this flexibility, but this burnished texture that I have really never heard before in other cellos. So that's the long-winded story of this. You know, again, the two chapters of when I was introduced and how it pulled me into who I am back in my 20s to where I've come, basically at 50. To document with you these suites during this time, which will probably never happen, knock on wood, again in our lives, is monumental. To be a rebirth, basically, as a society as well as a human being. This story, it's not about, oh, there's a new recording of the Bach cello suites. This is a marker in time that evolved because of the time.